before we get started here. I'm not an AI expert, but this stuff, I'm here for this. As OpenAI has its third CEO in as many days, because these tech founder CEOs are they like to lie. Actually, they're good at it. That's how they become tech CEOs, I think. Do either of you know the answer to that, actually? Well, this is How the Tech Are You, where we don't know anything.
Pretty soon we're going to change our name to How the Tech Would We Know.
Like Spotify got a sweetheart deal from the Google App Store. We'll bypass a lot of the Android fees.
If you're going through an antitrust, your platform picking winners and losers is definitely not a good look.
Hey everybody, how the tech are you? I am producer Dave. I'm the producer of this and all of the shows here on Echoplex Media. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't fucking know. My first story is about OpenAI. Before we get started here, I'm not an AI expert, but this stuff, I'm here for this. Sam Altman was hired by Microsoft as OpenAI has its third CEO in as many days. Altman was fired by the OpenAI board this past Friday, 3 days ago as the recording date of this show. Greg Brockman, another co-founder at OpenAI, is also joining Microsoft. Emmett Shear, the former CEO of Amazon's Twitch. What's Twitch? Will join OpenAI as the interim CEO. Shear replaces Mira Murati, who was named as interim CEO when Altman was fired. Murati will return to her role as OpenAI's chief technology officer. And if I do say so myself, what a shit show. Anybody got anything? Any? I've been reading about and kind of listening to other more knowledgeable podcasts about this since Friday, so I might be able to answer some questions if y'all have them.
I haven't been reading closely. I definitely heard about it. I didn't follow any podcasts or read deeply into it. I was about to. That was one of my alternative stories for the show, so I'm glad you covered it. But do you know why? So Altman was basically kicked out. Do you know what happened there? And
yeah, he was kicked. He was removed for lying to the board. Was their reason? It may have been a lie through omission, right? There may have been some language in his agreement that he would talk to the board if he was in negotiations with other companies, and him being hired by Microsoft pretty quickly after he was fired leads me to speculate that it maybe was a lie of omission, that he did not tell the board that he was in negotiation with Microsoft, or they may have asked him and he just said no, because these tech founder CEOs are they like to lie. Actually, they're good at it. That's how they become tech CEOs, I think. Was the public face of the company, and I don't think they wanted to fire him because he was fairly charismatic and a lot less creepy, actually, than other tech CEOs, or at least on the surface. You know what I mean? Like when you would give a talk somewhere, you'd be like, oh, this seems like a human being. And it's a shame for OpenAI, this person that's replacing him, Emmett Shear. I don't know. He was the CEO of Twitch, which is a very public-facing thing. It's a streaming service, and I would imagine that person is also not robotic or whatever, that they know how to give a talk because they've been been on stage and stuff at TwitchCon and all this stuff. So I assume that this person will be good at communication. I don't know actually how much Sam Altman knows about AI as a technology. I don't know if his core competency was management or raising money. Probably raising money, but I don't know if he was also an AI a researcher or AI programmer. Do either of you know the answer to that, actually? Well, this is How the Tech Are You, where we don't know anything. The best tech podcast, the only tech podcast, actually. The other ones you're listening to do not exist.
Pretty soon we're going to change our name to How the Tech Would We Know.
So that was my first story. There's not really much there except what's been written. Maybe somebody will spill the tea later, and maybe we'll be covering that. My next story here is actually a fairly quick one. It's about Spotify and the App Store, Google's App Store. Spotify got a sweetheart deal from the Google App Store. We'll bypass a lot of the Android fees. This came out during the epic Google antitrust trial that's been going on. Everyone else pays 15%, and Spotify was paying around 4%, and the Google representative said the reason for this is just that Spotify is very popular and it justified the deal. This might kind of be a non-story, but honestly, I was kind of hustling to get stuff done today. Are either of you Spotify users?
I used to be.
Nope.
I used to be until essentially all the stuff with Joe Rogan happened, where Spotify stood behind him, even though he was spreading a whole bunch of COVID misinformation. And I thought, you know what? I can't give this company my money. So I switched over to Apple Music, which, by the way, works on Android. And Apple Music has been, and as far as I know, Apple doesn't support COVID misinformation.
Well, the podcast in question, I believe, is also available on Apple's podcast service. Although
Joe Rogan, no, he's exclusive with Spotify.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, I mean, I still use Spotify. I just use it as my podcatcher because it seems to be the best one for Android. There was a couple shows that I couldn't find actually, like on other podcatchers, because I think they're on maybe they're on Anchor or whatever. And Anchor, they say, or it's now called Spotify Podcasts, right? But now they say they send it to everywhere, but they don't actually send it to everywhere. They have no reason to do that. Sure, they send it to Apple Music and maybe iHeart. I forget what I was using. I am thinking about switching to one of the Podcast 2.0 apps, though, soon, just because that's like really interesting and there's ways to. Oh, go ahead.
Not Podcast 3.0, where they just put it all on a blockchain.
That is not it. It's just there's a whole new series of apps where people can use something called a SAT to support podcasts. I don't want to get into it too much because I don't understand it. I tried to accept SATs for my podcasts and I was like, what the hell is this?
Is that a crypto thing?
Yeah,
sounds like
it's
a crypto
Satoshi.
thing. Okay.
Yeah,
it's the smallest division of a Bitcoin.
Anyway, just my take on this is the Google App Store has every right to renegotiate their fees with people.
I feel like this, if you're going through an antitrust, your platform picking winners and losers is definitely not a good look.
Right.
And it's definitely evidence that you do, in fact, have a monopoly or a duopoly.
Right. If they were open about it, if in their, I don't know if it says anything about it in their terms of service when you're a developer, if they were open about it, it wouldn't be a big deal, I don't think. But it seems like this was done kind of on the hush hush. And that means that they probably thought it was bad or that it would give them negative press.
Or maybe if it's like, oh, if you start reaching this level of sales, then we'll give you a reduced, percentage fee, something like that. Like,
or you're eligible.
It's available to everybody, assuming you have enough.
Right,
sales.
you're eligible to apply after you reach these milestones or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, they should automatically give it to you if you reach those levels, right?
Right. And there's tons of services that do stuff like that. If you're big on YouTube, you get a better split. A few people left even on Twitch who are real big on Twitch get a better split than everybody else, but they're open about it. They're not telling you they're not doing that. Yeah, it was a bit of a slow news week, but that's what I got. Everybody, thanks for listening to How the Tech Are You. This is our weekly tech show at Echoplex Media. You can check out all of our other shows and all of our other stuff at echoplexmedia.com. And don't forget to click the support tab while you're there. I need your money.